So, welcome to Meet My Friend with Daddy Porter, and I'm Daddy Porter, and I'm pouring my beer here before I pull on my guests here. The fantastic godfather of Fatherhood Interviews, Art Eddy, is with me today, but I'm going to pour in this nice Lennon Google's glass, a Pauliner original Munich, not so dark lager. Um, for some reason, I always get Munich lagers um, mixed up with Dunkels in my head. So I always, when I pour them, I think I'm looking for dark, but I shouldn't be. Um, but this is a fantastic light lager. I've had it in a while. I've had it for a while. Still very drinkable. So jumping in, I have a fantastic friend here to share with everybody. He is, well, I'll let him say who he is. But he's good. He's a really good friend of mine. As far as dad bloggers goes, he's always been there for me as far as advice goes. He has vast experience in this area of interviewing. I'm not an interviewer. I'm just someone here having a beer and having a conversation with my friends. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring on Art Eddy because he is way better and articulate at this than I am. So he's done this, I would say, I don't know, 4,000 times, but we'll ask him. So, cheers.
Cheers, man. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Yes. And what is that beer again, my friend?
Sam Adams 76. Sam
So
76, man.
we're both going the lager route today. If I recall correctly, it's a nice, I like that beer.
It's a mixture between like an ale and a lager, man, and it's like a springtime beer. Like you're sitting out at a AA ballpark, enjoying a dog and having a Sam, you know?
Yeah,
I know. In a perfect world, normal world, all that good stuff, right?
Gotta try to remember that. Right. So what's up, Art? For a lot of people who follow me, follow you too, so they know you, but plenty of them don't. So let's introduce yourself and tell us what you do and where you're at, and we'll start from there.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on your show, man. I think you do great work. You had me on a couple of your beer shows before. We had some fun there. So I just want to say the feeling's mutual, man. I'm glad that we met in this dad space. You're an awesome guy. Just all around. Your heart is so big, man. Yep, dad too. So thanks for having me on the show. Art Eddy is my name. I got into the dad blogging world or dad podcasting world through Life of Dad. That was Tom Riles, Patrick Quinn, Dan Lazars, Ryan Hamilton, David Guest, and myself. We kind of were like the Voltron of Life of Dad. We have a bunch of other people hanging out with us.
Voltron,
Nice.
Fantastic reference.
So I started working over at Life of Dad in this dad blogging world, and then I met so many different people. It's been great, and it's been fun, and it's great meeting you. Like you threw up the shirt, the Dad 2.0 shirt. So a lot of guys right there that I've met and I've been better for as a dad just because we're able to chat and enjoy this fatherhood conversation. You can kind of catch me on different platforms besides Life of Dad. There's the Art of Fatherhood. So yeah, there's a lot of different things. I'm into, as you can tell, Star Wars. I'm a sneakerhead. I collect figures and all that other stuff back there as well as you can see. So yeah, I guess I'm a jack of all trades. And speaking of Masters of None, I have a podcast called Masters of None with the guys I used to work in radio with before kind of like being a stay-at-home dad and getting into this world. I used to work in radio. So I have a show called Masters of None. My very first podcast that I started with those two guys, Jay and Mike, I'd say, what year is this? 2020? I'd say like we started 2008 around that time we started. So been podcasting ever since.
Man, so you kind of stole my next question, which was, where does this all start? And obviously it all started with a DJ background, and it just kind of evolved from there. And I would assume that this is a place where you're at now and you love it, but you didn't see yourself there 12 years ago.
So true, my friend. So true. Like I had no idea. I'm like in college, I'm going to major in communications, maybe go TV, the radio route, but I'm going to, focus on fatherhood. I'm going to start a fatherhood podcast, might even write a book. No, none of that. None of that. And again, like, my friend, like life takes you in different places and you got to enjoy the ride. And I had no idea, but I'm blessed to be here. It's just really great because I know guys like you now. So all these great things, man.
Yeah, and how you came on my radar is obviously to me what you're most known for is your fatherhood interviews and your podcast and that angle. I just continue to be I don't know, the word is inspired by not only your work but also like the people you interview. And this is one I really liked was Matt Forte.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, you have a laundry list of Misha Collins. I mean, I can go down the list and name drop. You could probably better make this talk to him. But as a fan of yours and someone who listens to your show, the names that you keep coming up with are just amazing. So the one question I want to ask about the podcast and just the fatherhood, like, is there like a common theme that you almost hear from every one of them? Like, I understand, and it may be worded differently, or it may like come at you in a different way, but like you've interviewed so many fathers, like, is there a common theme, or is there something that they always say, or a tip that they always, like, most of them give, or because again, you speak to a lot of like I was famous fathers, for lack of a word, or fathers that are in the spotlight, for a better word, you know what I mean? Like Matt Forte. I don't know if he's famous or not, but he's famous clearly in the Chicago Bears. You know what I mean? Football kind of, I remember him. I had him on my fantasy team. So then when I saw him pop up on your thing, I was like, oh, I can just relate to this guy. Boom. So yeah, there was a question in there, I think.
I love you, man. But also too, you being a Browns fan, you gotta love the fact that I interviewed Joe Thomas, right?
Oh, of course. But I wasn't trying to bring up that I'm a Browns fan.
Own it, man. Own it. They got the new uni they released yesterday. Just own it, man. Like,
everybody knows it. Everybody knows it, so I don't have to advertise. But go on.
But to get back to your question, I think the common theme that I've seen overall, I mean, every dad I think brings a new story. I've had you on my podcast. No matter where you are in the scheme of things in life, and if people know you, or you're like a Matt Forte, or you're like us, where we just are dads and we have a passion for it. I just want to bring on guys who have a passion for fatherhood, right? And I think the biggest theme that I've seen is just we try to be perfect, but we know we're going to make mistakes, but just know that you're not perfect and do the best you can and be there. Like, be there, do the best you can. And one of the guys that I always mention every time someone asks me about my show is Bill Engvall. He's a comedian, stand-up comedian. I think people know him from like the guys, the blue collar comedy and all that. He said, make sure you not just hear your kids, but listen to them, understand what they're going through, understand what they're talking about, look at what their issues are and what their feelings are from their perspective, not as someone who's been there, but what they're kind of dealing with. And I thought that was huge, because you want to put yourself in their shoes, right? You want to make sure that you're not just being like, yeah, don't worry about that. In time, it'll pass. Kids don't want to hear that, right? They want to understand. They want to know that you care about them. And I think listening to him a few years back, I was just like, that's so true, man. Just because we know as parents, like, oh, this will pass, don't worry about it. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear like, hey, I've been there. This was my experience. Are you experiencing the same thing? This is how I kind of dealt with it. What do you think? And then you just give them your experience, but don't like poo-poo it and be like, yeah, you're okay, you're fine. So that's I think those are the common themes, and the one from Bill is something that I really take to heart.
Yeah, it's fun, man. So how long has just a quick recap, how long have you been interviewing fathers?
I would say 2009, 2010. So
you got about 10 years.
Yeah.
Yep. Doing that wonderful math. That was really, so that leads into this wonderful book, which, look at that, you can see I purchased it, but I did it.
My man.
I have to be honest though, I've never read it because I purchased it and sent it to my my cohort, my Friday cohort, Mr. Ziegler. So he has it. but it's part of our family, so I'll eventually either get it or buy one myself. But I at least supported my guy here, so that's good.
Well,
but,
you bought one, so I should probably send you one, man.
oh, you got that? What is that? You got that Bombas thing where you give a dad one once he buys one? Or no, I didn't say that.
Yeah, why not, right?
So was it? So this was obviously this is a collaboration book, right? This isn't just you, but it's a lot of your work. So speak to the book and how that came apart, and man, how much of a pain in the ass was it? Is the real question.
Well, I gotta say, big up to my co-author John Finkel, man. He was phenomenal from the start, man. And he's always said, like, hey, with your podcast, like, why haven't you written a book on this? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it's already out there, but he's like, no, people take, mediums, and like people like maybe they don't listen to podcasts, maybe they read more, right? So he's like, let's do this. So we pitched it out to a couple people, and Simon and Schuster, division of them through Adams, they were like, yeah, let's do this. So like John was just awesome. Like he's written so many books. Like he's written books with like Nate Robinson, Mean Joe Green, a bunch of people. Like you can just check out John Finkel if you follow him. He's one of the guys I do the lunch break show with.
Yeah. Talk about that quick.
Yeah, that quick is just every Monday around 2:00 Eastern Standard Time. John and I do a show called The Lunch Break where we'll have people on. Now that everyone's quarantined, they have more time. We've been talking with a bunch of authors who, oddly enough, they're sneakerheads. The past 3 guys we had on were sneakerheads. I'm wondering if next week's author, we're going to be talking to John Littlejohn. He wrote like a bunch of these books right here. And these, so we're going to be talking with him about these books and children's books and stuff. But I'm wondering if he's going to be a sneakerhead. But yeah, so that's John and I do that show. And so getting back to the book, it was just, we kind of had a format. We worked with the publishing company about like what celebrity dads they wanted in there and what dads we felt like needed to be in there. I was, of course, talking about Bill Engvall. He's in there. Wanted to make sure that my boy Mark Hamill was in there. Not my boy, but I've interviewed him a couple of times. And obviously him being Luke Skywalker, I was a big fan of his. So got a bunch of guys in there.
Cool. You can call him your boy. It's cool. You can name drop that one. I feel it. I'm jealous.
So we talked about a bunch of things in that book. There was kind of, we picked like one piece of advice or one fatherhood aspect that each guy had. And so we put that into the book, and it's kind of, based in chapters. You don't have to read it like from start to finish. You can, pick up and read like one chapter and then like next day read another chapter, and it doesn't, there's rhyme and reason to the book, but like you don't have to go page 1 through whatever, so it's a great book for like if you're just like waiting to do something else, you want to read this book. There you go. I'm the second option book. I just gave my book the second option route. That should have been I don't know if that's good or not.
Well, now that you say that, let's see here. Comments. So my friend, my acquaintance or friend, absolutely Chris Sands. Sounds really interesting. I look forward to checking out your podcast. And then we have this. Cheers.
Nice. Well done, man. Cheers to that. Thank you, sir.
Cheers. Thanks, Chris. You'll enjoy it. I wouldn't know because I haven't read it yet. Just keeping it real. But I have supported, so that's good.
No, I appreciate
and I listened to a load of your podcast. So
you seriously are one of my like. There's a lot of guys in this world that we kind of interacted with, and you are by far one of the biggest supporters, and I appreciate that, man. It means so much. Just because like when we met at Dad 2 a few months ago before everything went upside down, it was good seeing you
close.
out. Yeah.
I haven't heard anybody. I think I've heard one person that might have had it since then.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you in post-production.
Okay. Yeah. So like, you've just been a huge support, and I appreciate that, man.
He's going to let us know how it is.
Appreciate that, Chris. Thanks.
Absolutely. So to answer my question, or I think I heard in there that it wasn't a pain in the ass because you had a good co-author.
Yeah. One of the best, man. This guy knows what's up. He actually his current job right now is working with a book company. So it's been great.
Excellent, man. Excellent. That's good. Again, it makes sense in my opinion because again, you have that wonderful catalog that we could find on the. Let's see here. Let me put it up here. The Art of Fatherhood.net. It's definitely .net. I was on .com today. It's something else. You already know. I put it right in. But and then you also have a library with the Life of Dad group that you said before. We can get that through a Google search, right?
Yeah, Google search. You can get that on iTunes. You can get that anywhere. So yeah, I mean, I think especially you and I being fans of sports and all that, and if anybody watches ESPN Sports Center, Kevin Gandhi is this week's guest for the Art of Fatherhood podcast. Man, he has so many great stories. Like his story, because he's a Philly fan, a Philly Eagles fan. Mm-hmm. His story when he was going to that Patriots Eagles Super Bowl, the one where they won the Philly special. I'm surprised it's not a movie yet. Like it was great. And he really cares about being a dad, and there's a lot of parallels that he got from his parents, but then also too, he sees them when he covers different sporting events and all that. So he's a great storyteller. And after I remember he said like, "Oh, I'm sorry if I rambled." I'm like, "You did not ramble, man. Your stories were so interesting and I enjoyed it." So check that one out, because if you like you and me, Greg, if you're fans of ESPN and just sports, mm-hmm. I think people will definitely appreciate that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually that's a really good point here, is that you don't specifically just do athletes, but you do a lot of athletes. And in the absence of our wonderful sports, people can jump in and listen to a different angle in sports. And you've interviewed Mike and Mike, both of them, or just one? Yeah.
Mike and Mike. Right. So I interviewed
separately. So yeah, go.
I was going to say, I interviewed Mike Golick by himself one time. And then I interviewed Mike Greenberg by himself one time, and that was right. It. So I interviewed him, and then we did a thing where we interviewed Greeny and Golick. And so Greeny and Golick, we were talking to them, and then because I was like, "Hey, Greeny, you can put yourself on mute," and I just asked pretty much the same questions I asked Greeny before on another podcast with this one for Golick, because I wanted to get his take on father, because we were talking about some other things. I think we were doing a paid campaign with a company, and so we did that stuff first, and we talked about sports, and then we went back into fatherhood. So great guys. I mean, one of the things too for me, like I had one of my favorite athletes of all time is Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson, David Robinson, Jerry Rice are guys I've interviewed, and just hands down, they were like, just like you see them in press conferences or just like different stages of where you might like interact with them. They were perfect. Like David Robinson is just a kind, caring, like gentle giant, right? Mm-hmm. And Bo Jackson just had so many great stories. I mean, I interviewed him before the whole fatherhood thing, but our conversations kind of went into fatherhood. When his wife was in labor, he got kicked out of some baseball games intentionally so he could go to the hospital and be with her when he's giving birth. So you got to appreciate that. And then
that one, okay.
He got called out on some strikes, and he knew it was a strike, but he started yelling at the umpire, and so he just got heated. And then they were like, "You're out." He's like, "Can I go to the hospital now?" And his manager's like, "Yeah, go ahead." So I was like, "Yep." And then Jerry Rice, I was supposed to get 15 minutes with him, and then he calls me up like 3 hours before, and he's like, "Hey, can we do it now? Because I got this, and this, and instead of 15 minutes, I give you half an hour." I was like, "Yeah, sure." So we talked for half an hour, and it was like, "Yep, I'm feeling pretty happy right now."
Yes. So again, we can get our little bit of a sports fix through the archive of your podcast. Absolutely, no question. And obviously, you can hear good stories. Good sports stories or sports related father stories too. So those are fun, especially at this time where many of your kids are bugging the hell out of you, and vice versa. By the way, vice versa. Yeah. So I have a couple comments here, Art, before I move on to my next question. This is our friend Pat Jacobs says he's a horrible judge of character, but our friend James, talked to him yesterday. That was a good conversation.
Fatherhood is lit. Hashtag fatherhood is lit. James is another guy where I think the three of us are very supportive of each other. James is fantastic what he's doing. I love his messages and all that. So shout out to James, man.
Yeah, James was fun, man. I don't know if you you're pretty strict and good about, in my opinion, because I've been on your podcast a couple times about how like, you know what I mean, it's 30 minutes. You pretty much stated that, or around that area. On a live stream, as I told you, sometimes I kind of let it go depending on engagement and what's going on. And I was like, I even told James, I was like, I don't know, man, we probably got like 20, 30 minutes. I can get you out. James and I were on for like an hour and a half almost, or an hour and 15, because I know James, but like once you get into him and talk to him a little bit, like it just blows up, because the man can talk about 3, 4, 5 different things, and you can just go different angles with
dude's
him.
a renaissance man.
Right.
Dude's a renaissance man. Like there's so much more, like that dude is an onion. There's so many layers to him, man. That guy is fantastic, man.
See, this is why I have great guests, because you take the words right out of my mouth. So Pepper says that you've interviewed everyone. I agree with that. And
That's awesome. Jeff's another great guy as well, too. Like, all these guys are hanging out. Awesome.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but like, but like he says, like James, like I talk a lot, but like when he talks, there's meaning behind everything. It's not just like gabbing, right? Like this dude, like he knows what he's talking about. When he talks, you want to listen, because like he's speaking the truth. So
these are facts, and we got a question for you. That's Pat.
So inside information tells me that I was just telling you in the pre-production.
Yes.
I recently did an interview with someone who plays Major League Sports, and I want to be hopeful. I feel like I'm an optimist. I'm optimist. Prime. No, I'm optimist more than like I'm a pessimist. But I don't see it. Like I don't see baseball and basketball happening. Maybe basketball, and you're going to go right into like they're talking about Vegas, and like they're going to have like the MGM quarantined, and that's it, and that's where the players can go, and it'll be like some form of playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
If any live sports happen, dude, they're gonna go through the roof, and I can only imagine advertising companies be like, it'll be like just like Super Bowl advertising dollars. They're like, okay, this is gonna be watched. We know that we're gonna get like some super return on like, or just engagement with people. So if there are sports, if there are live major pro sports, I know that advertisements are going to be just try like knocking at the door, being like, all right, how much do you need? I'll pay whatever. Right. Mm-hmm. But I'm even nervous because football is my main love, man. Football is my biggest sport. Like I like them all, but like if I had to choose one to watch, it'd be football. Right. And I don't know if that's coming back. If people stay home and just live that quarantine life and stop like going out in different places, maybe we can do stuff. I know we need to get this economy back, but like I don't know, the more we kind of like putz around and say like, do we still have to stay out? I mean, do we still have to stay in? The longer we're gonna be in, right? It's like when you were grounded, you go to your room and you're sitting by that like the edge of your door and being like, can I come out now? And your parents like, no. Whoa. You keep on asking, you're gonna be an hour longer,
right?
And then you see like you step out of that like the border between like like the carpet color changes. You step back and you're like, my mom sees me, another hour, and you're like, ugh. And so you're sitting in there and like that hour feels like a year. That's what I feel like a lot of people are doing right now. Am I right?
Correct. I agree. But the thing, like, staying on the sports first, like all these different alternatives and ideas that they're throwing around to get this going, it fascinates me. But the thing that really fascinates me is I am not a baseball fan. I stopped watching during the strike of one of these years. It just annoyed me. So I'm like, oh man, and I'm spending a lot of time during summer watching this shit. You guys don't care, and you're gonna strike, so I'm out. So then from that point on, I was out. So I have no ill will towards baseball. I love when people love it. It's great. I just watch different stuff. I'm more of a soccer guy now. But their proposal to up and go all to Arizona and split it up and just have it there, I think that's fascinating, and I would watch that shit. I would.
Oh yeah, I think.
But I don't think it's going to happen. But I would love it.
I think there's different ways that things can happen. But again, logistically, it all comes down to like, as much as people want to get back into the real world, especially like athletes and all that, since we're just talking about sports, do you really think they're going to put themselves in harm's way?
Well, yeah. Well, and then there's this question: like, live in a hotel without family, and
Well, with all the memes right now, people being like, all right, I had fun with my family. Now I need to go back to work or something like that. Right. I think some people would enjoy it, but like other people, I guarantee you, as much as people like the old joke would be like a parenting meme being like, oh, I can't wait for, to go back to work. But I'd say half of those people are like, yeah, let's go back and play. But the other half's like, wait a minute, my family can't come. I can't be with them. I don't know about that. So
right. And then there's that whole money thing where somebody was saying like this all would have to be negotiated if the fans didn't come, because then the revenue is different, and I'm not gonna. I'll let that go.
Too, and again, I don't know all about the economics of like, of course, when people are paying concessions and all that other stuff, when you're paying, popcorn and all that stuff, it goes to the people that have their jobs. The biggest thing that I have, the concern for people in sports are the people that, and I know this is going to sound weird, the minimum wage athletes that are getting like check to check and maybe don't have a huge income, right? On like the minimum league minors, but the league minimum, but then also to the people who work at the stadiums. I would love if sports went back into that, right? And owners started making money. I would love for them to funnel back to those people who, like, if you're making advertisement money, yeah, you need to pay your players and all that other stuff, but like pay the people who can't work because of circumstances that rely on that money, that definitely live paycheck to paycheck. Again, no economist. I'm not saying I am, because I know you hate when people start thinking they know what the economy's about from your tweets. But I'm just saying, like, you got to look at put in the hard work all the time when you're just sitting on your butt watching a game at the stadium, and people are bringing hot dogs and lugging like 90 to 100 degree boxes of hot dogs and pretzels while you're like enjoying the time, right? So you just think of those people, right?
No, right. One, do you think have a larger impact on how we pay athletes versus how we pay? No. Who asked that question? I can't say. I wish I can't see the. For some reason,
I would say I would love to do that. Like once I started dating my wife back in the day, and I actually saw like a behind the scenes of like what a teacher does. Like my wife's mother, she was a teacher, and the love that she put into that. And I know we know a couple other people who are teachers in this dad game, in this dad blogging game, that have a passion for it. You have to respect teachers. You have to respect nurses, doctors, people who are driving garbage trucks, people who are driving all like post office, UPS, and all this other stuff. Like you try and leave care packages for people that deliver stuff to me. Like, hey, you need some stuff here, just because these people are still letting things happen, like deliveries and all these other things, right? And looking for a cure and all that. I would love for that to happen, but in a perfect world, yes, right? But in the reality, people are still going to be paying for what they want to pay for, and people are going to see where the money goes, and that's where it is, unfortunately, right? But like these people, like nurses, doctors, first responders, firemen, police people, fire people, whatever the case may be, doesn't a man or a woman, whatever the case may be, teachers, everybody who is essential workers, they're legit, man. And pay them. And some companies, like I'll tell you one thing, like I'm watching, I know you're watching, I know a bunch of people are watching. You see companies that are treating their employees right, you will keep on going to that company. If you see a company or a store or something or a franchise that's treating their employees wrong, that they shouldn't be doing, then you're gonna be like, maybe I shouldn't be using this company anymore, right?
Correct, sir. Absolutely. So James agrees with us about the minimum wage athletes. Darren says hi. What's up, Darren? Darren was at.
Good guy right there, man. He is on one of our Facebook live shows. I think he made everybody hungry talking about his barbecue.
Yeah, yes, and he's a Cleveland guy too. So
yeah, oh yeah, oh me and Creed and Darren at that too. We're at this one event, and we were talking all about Cleveland sports, man.
Anyway, on to. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I love that nickname, by the way. Thank you for giving me that. That's freaking. And thanks, Mike.
I'm good with the nicknames. That's one thing I am good with. Chris Sands says, did Mark Cuban come out and say something about making sure stadium employees got taken care of? Not only did he say something, I'm pretty sure the man went into action and paid them.
Yep. And here's another thing too, when like you hear people say shut up and play and don't talk like politics, something like that. Some of those guys who are in the know and sharing their take on everything in the world other than just sports, they're stepping up and paying people. I forgot, was it like Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Yes, sir.
I just butchered that last name, but Giannis.
You tried. I wouldn't even try. Go on.
He and I'm just singling him out, but a bunch of athletes have stepped up and paid money. And I know Cuban's done that stuff. Again, I'm not a billionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I don't know what it takes to be that. And I'm not saying that at all, right? You try and help out. I know that we have helped out certain like causes and stuff that we can, just because you feel like, all right, things are crazy right now, right? But like, we're just asked to staying home. We're not asking to go on the front line of a war, storm a beach, anything. They're just saying like, hey, Netflix and chill this whole they're hanging out, right? And I know some people don't have jobs, and like that's a stressful thing, but just for people, for again, Cuban, some other people, you give more respect to them because what they're doing. They get it. Like you realize, like, yep, Cuban gets it.
Cuban, yeah, he's always pretty much got it though. This is the truth. Yep. Tepper agrees with us. He's been excellent. James agrees with Darren's a G. Darren says represent. Right. Way better, not good. So, Art, you mentioned it in your blurb when I asked you about who you are and all that. Part of, especially if you, let's bring up Art's feed here. You'll really find out fast where Art's, I don't have it here yet. So you'll really find out really fast Art's priorities when you go on his feed, because you'll see his love of sneakers and all that. And it was funny because I was thinking of ways to bring this up and talk about this and different angles to frame it. And I was wondering if you are you like a sneaker sucker, meaning like it doesn't matter what sneaker it is, there's no ugly sneakers, or is it where there are some fugly ass sneakers and I would never wear that shit?
Yes, exactly. I am not someone who just like buys a shoe just because like everyone's buying it, right? I'm not for that at all. Like, I know I'm gonna probably get some for the new sneakerheads out there. I hate all the Kanye West sneakers. I hate them.
You hate? Wait, I didn't hear that.
The Kanye West sneakers, like the Yeezys.
Oh, they're fugly in my opinion.
They look like you took burlap sacks from a zebra like material and just made it into a shoe, right? Like I'm not.
And that is your opinion on those dumb shoes. Just make it sure. Right. Okay. Cool. Well, I think if you say it's your opinion, you can't be like. I know Kanye watches my show, so he might sue us. So like that's why I said no. It's our opinion, but no. Yeezy's shoes are kind of it's not me. But so okay, cool. Because I always thought that you were a sucker for shoes, meaning like it doesn't matter what I roll out, Art's gonna be like, man, those are awesome. I want to get them.
A shoe has got to me like more of my stuff is retro than it is new stuff. Like the new stuff I'll get to review or I'll purchase is something like if it's a Star Wars Adidas collab, right? Boom, right? Or retros are huge. They're like Bo Jackson's. I like the Dominique Wilkins pumps. I interviewed Dominique Wilkins and he and I started talking on Twitter about like how Reebok can like do things to like pump up, no pun intended, his shoe.
Pun intended, damn it.
And then there's when sneakers, there's got to be a meaning, something for me for sneakers, right? There's got to be something there for me. And
gotcha.
one of the most recent sneakers I got was the Paul George. It was actually the series that Zion Williams was wearing. That he remember the Duke game where he like smashed the sneaker and like he got hurt.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, James. I know you care for them, and I love the fact that you and your sons and are getting them. I got no love. I gotta be even the Nike ones. I was still kind of like, and I felt like James might like agree or disagree, but I felt like the Victor Cruz was like the second version of those Nike Yeezys. If you saw the Victor Cruz's ones, those were like okay, but like, yeah, I'm just not a fan. I mean, it's almost like Kanye's music. There's a few songs that I like, but most of the stuff I'm just like, man, I can take it or leave it.
Especially his later stuff, but in my opinion. But so we have
so the Paul George. I actually got. Can I quickly go get them or no? Can I go get them or no?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't know what you're asking. Yeah, go get the shoes. And I will. I don't know. Finish that poll in there. That was good.
All right, so these are the Paul George's PlayStation ones, and they light up, dude. So that's his logo, and then you got the PlayStation logo, and it lights up in the back with the power button, man.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's cool because it's got like the first PlayStation, like it's got like, you know, his stuff right there. So when I saw that, I was like, dude, I got to pick those up.
Yeah.
So then like the Allen Iverson first shoe was straight heat. Like that is his best shoe. And Reebok actually sent me a collaboration between the pumps and the Question, and it was called Philly Love. Have not worn them. They're buried under some other things right now, so I can't get them. But dude, those things are fantastic. So yeah, I got married in the Air Jordan 11s. You know, the ones that Boyz II Men came and sang in the Grammys. They were wearing the Concords. I wore the black and red ones. So, and I got some of my guys in my wedding party Air Jordans as well.
You all wore sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that appropriate?
Yeah.
So just like Kanye, in my opinion, his sneakers are polarizing as hell. Like you either love Kanye. Again, it doesn't sound like you hate or love Kanye, but generally people love or hate him. It's just not. There's no in between with him. Darren says. So you see what I'm saying? Like even in the comments, he's like polarizing. You know what I'm saying?
It's funny though too, because I think there was like a hip hop dads group that I think we all belong to on Facebook.
Yes, sir. Shout out to it.
Shout out to them, man, for running it. A bunch of these guys are in it.
Sure.
I look at my love for rap music is kind of like my love for sneakers. I love the stuff that was the 80s and 90s and maybe early 2000s, like when I was still in college. Some of the stuff like Kendrick Lamar and some other people that like are now,
Kendrick,
I definitely love. But after a while, like I feel like old white man on my porch saying, "Get off my lawn" with somebody, and it stinks because I'm like, I never thought I would be that way. There was a guy like when I used to work at a grocery store, he worked in a produce department, and I would take care of like when the loads would come in, right? And like I'd mostly be working in the back in the freezer. And I had a boombox, and I'd be playing Tupac, I'd be playing mixtapes and all this other stuff. And one guy came in, he's like, "What is this?" He's like, "What are you listening to?" I'm like, "Dude, it's Tupac." He's like, "Tupac, whatever." Blah. He's like trying to make all these jokes. He's like, "You're not gonna like this music when you get older." I was like, "Whatever." I still like Tupac, right? But like the new rap, there's some stuff like I definitely appreciate, and I might download on my phone. But nowadays, I'm like, nah, I'm all right.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I still search for it, and I'm always looking for new songs. But a lot of this doesn't connect to me, whether it be the mumble rap or whatever. It's just not my thing. But yeah, I hear you for sure. And Jeff Tepper kind of, I believe, agrees with us. Jeff is the the founder and the admin of that group that you talked about. So we have this, and then we have that. So Jeff asked a question here.
Either the 11s or the 5s, and it depends on the weather and it depends on what you're wearing. So I have beater sneakers like in the between the winter and spring when it's like slushy or wintry, but like Air Jordan 5s, classic, Air Jordan 11s, 4s, Nike Air Maxes 95 and the 90s are my top ones right there. And then from new stuff, I would say any Adidas Ultra Boost. Those things are as hell, not because they have Star Wars stuff on them, but I bought them because they had Star Wars stuff on them.
That helps. Don't lie.
Yeah, it definitely does. But yeah, Air Jordan 5s. If you're looking at, let's just say if you're walking around and you want to have a comfortable shoe that's like an old school, retro 13s, man, those are fantastic. The bottom actually was made to look like a panther because he was called like the Black Cat or Black Panther was one of his nicknames. Like Jordan had so many different nicknames. Obviously Air Jordan, but he had a bunch of them. But Tinker Hatfield that made the sneakers with him, that designed it at Nike, the 13 has like panther qualities to the shoe and is so comfortable. It's the one with the hologram on one of the on the top ankle part.
Wow, man. So James only has one pair of Yeezys, I believe he's saying. He sticks to his Days and Maxes.
Okay, nice. Yeah. No, I mean James is a legit like a true dad. I'm all about the new. Oh man. New Balance. So New Balance, you got the fresh foams. They came out like a few years back. Actually, at Life of Dad, we ran a fantasy football league, and we had any dads can like participate. And I think we had 24 dads, 2 different leagues, in an East and a West. And the winner got like an Eli Manning signed football and some other things. And one of them, like each week, like you could like pick like a number out of a 30, like 1 through 30, and some of them were shoes. They sent me a size run, meaning a size run's like men's 7 through, I asked for 13 because you usually go 7 to 12. I'm a 13. I'm like, hey, can you hook me up as well? I'm like, yeah, sure. They gave me a size run. And I just remember I was like, who wants shoes? I felt like Oprah. You get a shoe. You get a shoe. But New Balance, there's a collaboration. Like I used to, again, I'm tangent and sneakers, and just there's a story to these sneakers, right?
That's why we're here.
So I used to grow up in Buffalo, New York. One of the things I remember going on one of my grandparents on my dad's side, he'd have this ginger ale called Verner's Ginger Ale, right? And it was mostly like a Eastern, like there's also like I think in Detroit and other places have them. I think it's a Vermont-based ginger ale. Really loved it. It was something that like we played pool with my grandparents, and they would like give us some ginger ale, and it was Verner's. Loved it. New Balance actually came up with a collaboration with a company called Burn Rubber, and it was a Verner's sneaker, and it's green and gold, like looks like the can. The colorway is hot, the artistry is hot, and I wear it anytime I go wear like an Aquaman t-shirt because I have to match my shoes with my sneakers with my shirts and stuff like that. So obviously the kicks of the day that I have on my social media things, but yeah, New Balance has got some heat. Again, being a Red Sox fan, it's kind of cool because New Balance sponsors them. See, Chris knows what's up. So you got to find the Verner's, man. Maybe it's not Michigan. I don't know, Daniel, but I thought there was something, but I know I used to get it in Buffalo. So
there we go. We got that. So I'm back to the rap conversation real quick, or I'm sorry, hip hop conversation. It's hard. It's really hard to like the new stuff. Really hard there, it says. James is trying to take us on a tangent. I don't know if we want to even go there.
I totally agree. I can't usually after work and all this other stuff that I do with my kids, my wife and I, after the kids go to bed, we'll just hang out and talk for a little bit, or maybe watch something, but like we're pretty much like maybe on our iPads or whatever the case may be, but we'll talk here and there. I'm not really watching anything. I've been like, there hasn't been, everyone's like, oh, did you see this series? Did you see this series? I'm like, whatever. I can't wait for The Last Dance, the 10-part documentary of the Bulls that premieres on. It was supposed to be, but because nothing's on, they're like, okay, we're going to start like this Sunday at 9. It's on ESPN. It's going to be a 10 episode documentary on the Bulls from the last season they won the championship from the start to the finish. And Jordan even came out and said, he goes, people are going to look at me in a different way, might even hate me because of his, drive and wanted to be the best. So, I mean, I think this is a season where he punched Steve Kerr in the face during practice. But I will agree with you, James. Again, being a Jordan fan, Jordan will forever be the GOAT. There are so many great. Just because I say like Jordan is the greatest of all time doesn't mean I don't think LeBron, Kobe, Magic, Larry. I mean, quickly shout out, man, Larry Bird. That dude won an MVP while as a player. He won Coach of the Year as a coach, and he won Executive of the Year. Like that's a trifecta that's really hard to get, So, gotta give a shout out to Larry.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
The more you know.
Yeah, because we've seen some coaches, Phil Jackson, like great coach, horrifying horrifyingly horrible executive. So it doesn't translate always. I don't know. You can throw people talk about Elway and football. How Elway can't find a quarterback, which is
surprising, right?
Well, it is, but also though, just because you are one doesn't mean you could find one. Does that make sense?
True. Yeah. True. Yeah. Because again, like a lot of people said, like when Jordan or something like that, like the way, like what he can do now, probably he can't do what he did back then when he was a player as now, right? Because like of the being a GM or a president, there's certain things you probably can't do, or say, or punch someone in the face. But
yeah,
I just think that there are certain players that they want. It's almost like when you're trying to teach your kid how to tie a shoe, right? You know how to do it. You know how simple it is, but you forget that they don't know how it is, right? So when you're like, the greatness of you tying a shoe is to like your toddler kid who doesn't have a shoe, and you're like, oh, fine, you're just doing Velcro until you're 17, right? But for Jordan, it's like the same thing. It's like, why don't you put the effort in? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And it's tough, and you don't. I don't know, like. What you got to find what you're the Michael Jordan of, and then try and teach someone that, and then see how that goes, right? And again, you should be punching her, but I'm just saying, like a lot of people are going to be like, I don't know. It's this documentary is going to be crazy, and I was just saying, like, this is going to be must see TV for me, which I haven't had in a while.
Sure, and Michael Jordan's a doer. He's not a teacher, and doers don't necessarily become the greatest teachers. And I've learned this as a homeschooler and as a dad, especially when they were young. I would just do everything. And as they get older, when I wanted to teach them what I do, I found out that I needed to recalibrate almost everything that I was thinking about. It's easy to shove a book in my kid's face and say, hey, do it. And then we can go over that. It's a lot harder for me to teach them how to make an omelet. It really was. It's like, look, this is what I'm doing. And they're like, so I'm like, well, screw it. I'll just make the omelets, as opposed to having the patience to say, look, no, let's go through the steps. And so sometimes as a doer, I can relate. Like it just doesn't translate. Sometimes you're just like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And Michael Jordan was that, excuse my language, fuck it, I'm going to do it guy. Like, I'm not passing you. Like Kobe was that way too. Like Kobe's like, I'm better, I'm shooting this. And he was, and it worked. And that's what made Kobe Kobe. And that's what made Michael Jordan. LeBron's a whole different thing. And so is, Wilt and all the other ones that people argue about. But I love the GOAT conversation. But I said we could literally get 3 people on here and talk 2 hours about the GOAT, and not only basketball, we could talk about the GOAT in football too. Because people still argue that it's not Tom Brady and all that. But why did I even open that?
Hey, even as a Niners fan, like Joe Montana and you got Jerry Rice and all that stuff, you have to look at Tom Brady and you're like, he is the GOAT. Like, what are you looking to do in a football, whatever sport? You have to win a champ. Like your dream or your goal is to win a championship. And then people who say like, well, he's been at like his Super Bowl percentage might be different from Joe's because Joe, went 4 for 4. That's great. And again, I'm a big Joe Montana fan, right? But like you look at all the Super Bowls that Brady has won and all the different things he's done, it's crazy.
I didn't mean to bring it up actually, but
okay.
I didn't, but I don't understand the opposite conversation at this point. His numbers are just way too impressive for anything really here. So, do you mind if I bring it back to fathering here real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because obviously we are, on this stream right now, live stream. We're in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. So you've been interviewing through this, and the reason I know this is because, again, one of the good things about Art's feed, if you are a fan of his podcast, is that like Art lets everybody knows who he's interviewing, or he puts a shout out. In fact, it was funny. I was texting you this morning about pre-production notes and what I had planned and all that, and then I literally go on Twitter and you just put out, hey, thanks to somebody for talking to me, and this podcast will be out, in a month. So Art really does a good job at, like, in my opinion, he does a good job at keeping you like in. Because if I listen to a podcast and then I go on this thing, I could see that, oh man, he just interviewed Greeny. So I can see that coming up. So that's a really good, as far as following you and getting your content, your Twitter feed is, in my opinion, part of like the whole Art Eddy world. and you pointed that out to me today as a link you wanted to talk about. So before I get to my fatherhood question, you want to talk about your Twitter feed?
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate the kind words again. Art83 has kicks of the day, a lot of Star Wars, a lot of geeky stuff retweeted. It's just and then there's just sneakers and all that other good stuff. So there's stuff there that people can kind of follow. People who I just think are look, James is right there. Look.
Oh yeah, I need to retweet that bullshit. There we go.
and just people who I love creative processes of the people and the mindset and the creative brain. One of the guys I had on the Art of Fatherhood podcast, Minlay, he did something about an Asian Green Lantern and the story in it. And if you look at the whole idea of Green Lantern and what that ring is about and the way he shared that story was fantastic. If you're looking for great books, check out the DC Kids book. I'm not getting paid for them from them at all for me saying this. They do a lot of great books for different relations, different races, different perspectives, men, women, all these different types of things, boy, girl, all of these things that they just chat about. And it's these books are great. My kids love them. Anytime I get a review copy, they snatch it from my hands. They read it. They tell me what they, we interviewed, where's the book? Yeah. We had on the lunch break, we had this guy over here, Dustin Hanson, right? He's one of the dudes that's a sneakerhead. He loves the Air Jordan 9, but he grew up with having bouts of dyslexia, right? And he writes the main character about having dyslexia and all that other stuff. And it's just, I think it appeals, there's so many different stories that appeals to different kids and what they're going through. So that's, I just kind of saw Min, I retweeted Min, I retweeted you right there too. Not just because you were promoting me, but I think
right, of course. No, you're all over my shit. It's great. I love it.
But yeah, so my Twitter feed is just a cornucopia of, actually not cornucopia, a potpourri, if you will, of the daily double of all these different things that I like and care about. So you'll see my little bio, what I care about and all that other stuff. And it's pretty much going to be to that. So.
Amen. So my pandemic question, which is, you've been interviewing fathers throughout this. You had an interview, or at least your Twitter feed says you had an interview this morning. Have you been, has it come up in the conversations? And also, do you have any tips for any fathers going through the craziness of, and again, you are a work at home dad. You've been for a long time. So you're kind of like me where we've kind of been home. But do you have any tips, or are you hearing anything from the fathers that you're interviewing or any of that?
Yeah, man, I would say the biggest thing is this is you and I have a leg up, right? You and I kind of started this race before everyone else did because you homeschool, all that stuff. So we are kind of above there, and we're not panicking in the we're panicking in other ways, but we're not panicking about having our kids here. And again, I gotta say something. My kids are at the ages of 9 and 12, where they're self-sufficient. We help them with other things if they have an issue with their homework or this or that. Once we get off this call, I'm going out and doing gym class with them, right? So outside in the backyard, social distancing, hashtag, thank you. But anyways, I would say just think about when you became a dad or a mom for the first time and how crazy that was, that transition, right? But eventually you came up with a routine. And I'm a very robotic person with my life. I schedule things out here and there. Sometimes I'm spontaneous here and there, but I think, my wife and my kids kind of make me more spontaneous. But I go by every day I know what I'm doing because I do it every day. And on this day, on a Monday, I do this. Tuesday, I do this. Could be laundry, grocery shopping, whatever the case may be. Routine is good. But not to sound like a hypocrite or talking at both ends of my mouth, but also too, especially now, try and do things a little bit differently, especially maybe around dinner time. My daughters wanted to make us dinner last week. They had an Aladdin themed dinner. Perfect. Every time they make us dinner, my wife and I enjoy it. It was great. We got to watch Aladdin together. They, the cooks ate in the kitchen while we sat on the table and we were eating a little date night. My daughters created this awesome ambiance on the table. So again, a 12-year-old cooking dinner is different than a 3-year-old cooking dinner. I get that, but just try and find things that your kids can do and enjoy. Let them do a little bit of that, and then be part of that as well. You're gonna need your own time. Here's another tip too. You're not really driving anywhere, right? have you and your spouse take turns driving the cars. Just don't go anywhere. Don't stop. Just, put the windows down. If it's a nice day, listen to music, listen to a podcast, and just drive around for like 10, 15 minutes. Have that time of yourself. If you're a coffee drinker, drink your coffee. Or, if you just want to listen to a podcast and have some time, you can kill two birds with one stone. One, you're keeping your car moving and running, and then two, you have that alone time so you can kind of decompress.
Yeah. Mike Andrews says spreadsheets are essential. I would assume that he's talking about keeping a schedule and meal plans and all those different things that keep that structure. Because again, the thing that used to frustrate me is that like asking everybody what they want to eat, and I'm done with that. We just put stuff on the table. Like I put a couple hamburgers in the sous vide right before I came down here, and I just told them I'm going to be on the stream so you guys can like finish them off if you want, or you can wait for me. And this is helpful with the older kids, obviously. I got 2 teenage boys, so yeah. Other than that, though, I like to say this is something I've been pushing as far as this goes. Less is more, and appreciate what you have. And again, less is more. We're less outside. We're less with our friends. We're less socially. There's a lot of things that we're less, but man, it's we're alive. We're kicking. We've got a future. So there's good things, and how this goes. So.
No, I agree with you 100%. Less is more, and just as much as this time is tough on people, it could be tougher than it is for you and me right now for other people, isn't it? And it sucks. Like what everybody's going through sucks. But just think about the people who are on the front lines who don't have the protection, but they're doctors and nurses and have to still try and treat people, right? And even besides the pandemic and that disease, you have other people who are going through stuff that are alone, right? So think about those people. I know things are everyone is dealing with so much weight right now, and it sucks. The weight of the world is on a bunch of people's shoulders, and it doesn't matter how heavy that weight is compared to another person. But just like you said, less is more, and just be kind, because everybody's going through this, and hopefully once we get through this, you have the same mindset of just being nice and caring for people as much as you're doing right now.
Yes, sir. I'm even going to make a banner for that.
Nice, so, Chris. His teacher, his wife's a teacher. Nice.
Yeah, or my kids will be going to a really shitty school. And that reminds me of the again. There's a silver lining in every tragedy. Silver lining here is that the memes have been amazing, and they really kept me on my toes as far as like laughing. And kind of like I'm a laugher. I'm a joker. Even when bad shit's going on with me, I'm trying to laugh.
Are you a midnight toker?
Even if it's a cynical laugh. What'd you say?
Are you a midnight toker? You said I'm a laugher. I'm a joker.
I can be, but I'm not trying to smoke during the lung.
No, I was just doing that Steve Miller Band song.
I'm keeping it real though, yes, but I can be for sure. Yes, sorry. It's funny too because I asked Art if any topics you want me to not talk about. And he's like, no, talk about everything, and then Art flips it on me. So
I'll see myself out. Bye.
Right. So Darren says, love you guys, gotta run. Little man's about to have a fit, which is kind of what we're talking about as far as and one more thing before I let you go, Art, is that I think what a lot of fathers are going through is that you and I had the not only the opportunity but the privilege to be able to make the choice to stay home, whereas it's not a privilege for many people, it's a situation. So like this is a thing that I've gotten. I don't know if you've gotten. I've gotten some DMs from people who are again now homeschooling and home and all that, asking how the hell have you done this, and why the hell do you do it? It's been some questions, but how the hell? But I think part of that is not it's not again a hatred of their kids or even a hatred of the situation. It's just more like they were put there, as opposed to having again the opportunity and the privilege that we've had to because our ladies kick ass at what they do, and so we're able to do what we do to support them. And again, it's just so different. Again, it's the same because we're doing the same things now, but it's different on how we all got there.
Oh, exactly. I think you just had a great analogy where people are kind of forced or pushed into it, right? It's almost like you're at the edge of a pool and don't know how to swim, and someone's like, "Learn, go ahead." And you're like, "What?"
Well,
so don't get like, again, this is the time for people who don't usually do this or are not home with the kids. It's easier said than done. Don't stress out. Try and like talk to your kids around Saturday or Sunday when things aren't like school and all that other stuff and things are a little bit more chill. Try and find, and hopefully maybe now with how many weeks we're in, but like if you don't have one, just try and like work on a schedule as a family together at a certain age. With some kids are like, I just want to watch TV the whole time. It's like a 5-year-old. It's like, all right, that's not going to happen. But communicate with your spouse, your significant other, and your kids. Or if it's just a single parent right now, work it out with the kids and be like, hey, this is what we kind of need to do. You guys can have some leeway, but communication right now is key. Don't hold don't hold anything in, but be kind. Again, be kind about it.
Absolutely. And last comment from Mike says, yeah, I'm hearing a lot of this too. Either side. I've heard, the ladies say, man, my husband stepped in, blah, 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 and I just feel kind of like I'm just like, in the background, or I'm just gonna let him take it even though it's tough. But yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, again, it's just a transition, and sometimes people don't, I'm not talking about Mike here, of course, but I'm just talking in general. Sometimes people don't like change anyway. And when the change is forced onto you, it's just another thing. And I'm not, again, it's just another mitigation that you have to figure out why you're in quarantine and craziness is going on. So I don't know, man. Like I'm with you. You pretty much said what I like to say, which is one day at a time.
Yeah. For
so,
sure, man.
Art, it's been awesome, man. I don't want to hold you. I know I said an hour, and I don't want to hold you anymore. I know you got gym class coming up. That sounds fun. It looks like in the back you got a sunny day.
Yeah, it's definitely, well, it's cooler than normal over here. I'm loving it. Like everyone's bundled up, and in my office right now it's usually colder because of where it is in the house. And I love it, and I have to shut the door because everyone complains that the cold seeps through. But I'm like Elsa, the cold doesn't bother me anyway. So,
and you let it go.
Oh. You got to do, let it go and be kind.
And at this point, Art, I'm gonna let you go. But one last time, as far as what do you want to do? In closing, what do you want to tell everybody to find you and all that?
Sure, yeah, you can find me on Twitter, ArtEddy3, Art ARTEDDY number 3, and then Life of Dad. There's artoffatherhood.net. You can check it out on the live streams as well. But yeah, I mean, on Twitter, usually I kind of let everybody know what's happening in my world. So again, Greg,
where do we find the live stream on Life of Dad's page?
Facebook. Yep, Life of Dad's Facebook page.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Great.
But man, I'm honored to be on your show and always love chatting it up with you, man.
We got a couple fans here, so it's cool. Chris, thank you. But I'm a horrifyingly horrible interviewer.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Art is fantastic. So yeah, it's all him. All right.
No, it's all you.
I love you, man. You know I do. I appreciate you, and you're a hardworking motherfucker. And keep going, man. And I'll see you soon. We got to have you back on the Friday show, with more ruckus and less structured. And Doug's cooler than I am, so it all works. Cheers, Art. Thanks for coming, man.
Thanks for having me, sir. Appreciate it.
Love it. Yes. Another great conversation with another fantastic dad. Let's see here. What do we have on the docket here? Back with my boy Doug tomorrow. And we have Hamilton Riley from Virginia. We're going to talk about Virginia beer, what's going on there. We're going to talk about blogging in the pandemic. We're going to talk to Doug about what he has going on in the pandemic. So it should be pretty fun. Next week we have Ferk and Ron, and also we have Joel Gratzik and Jeremy Highland from beerfinder.org. I hope I got that right. Beerfinder, though, they put a database of breweries and I believe distilleries. So we'll get all those details next week. I believe that is next Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So I'll see you guys tomorrow with Hamilton. Thanks for patronizing me and finding out, about my friends and all that. I see you guys are loving the interview. That's cool. Like I said, I'm learning how to talk. I just want to have a conversation. So that's kind of how I do it. Thanks, James. Thanks for coming on. Chris, I want to chat Maryland beer. We're going to do that. We're going to do that really soon. Excellent. I'll hit you up shortly. So I'm going to go and have